Everything is fine. You have a place to sleep, food, people who care about you, maybe even a job you don't hate, maybe more than that. And yet there is this feeling, quiet, persistent, like something important is missing and you cannot name what it is. Not sadness, exactly, not anxiety, something more like emptiness in a place where there shouldn't be any. And the strangest part is this: you cannot justify it. Nothing is obviously wrong. You look at your life and the math doesn't add up. Everything checks out on paper, but the feeling doesn't care about the math. So you do what most people do. You say nothing. You keep going. Maybe you scroll a bit more than usual. Watch another episode. Stay busy enough that the feeling doesn't get too loud. Until it does. If any part of this is familiar, I'm not going to tell you to be more grateful or to meditate or to think positive. I'm going to show you what's actually happening, because this feeling has a name, and understanding it changes how you see almost everything. Psychologist Viktor Frankl spent 3 years in Nazi concentration camps. He watched people with every reason to give up choose to keep living. And he watched people with comfortable lives, people who had never suffered the way those in the camps suffered, abandon all sense of purpose entirely. His conclusion was uncomfortable. Human beings can endure almost any suffering if they have a reason for it. What they cannot endure, even in comfort, is the absence of meaning. He called what he observed in modern life the existential vacuum, a state where someone has freedom, safety, and options, but no clear sense of what any of it is for. And he noticed something that he found striking. This state arrives most often not through tragedy, but through ordinary success. People achieve the things they were told would matter, and then they wait for the feeling of meaning to arrive. And it doesn't, because meaning doesn't come from having things, it comes from being directed towards something. Frankl wrote that the primary human motivation is not pleasure or even happiness. It is the search for meaning. Remove that, and nothing else fully compensates for its absence. This is why someone can have a genuinely good life on every measurable dimension and still feel the quiet weight of something missing. The missing thing is not circumstances, it is direction. Researcher Emily Esfahani Smith spent years interviewing people specifically about meaning, not happiness. Meaning. Her findings identified 4 things that consistently appeared in the lives of people who felt their life genuinely mattered. The first is belonging. Not being surrounded by people, actually being known by specific people and knowing them in return. The difference between being present in a room and actually mattering to someone in it. The second is purpose, not passion. Purpose. A consistent answer to the question of what you are here to give, not what you are here to get. Something that orients your choices towards something beyond yourself. The third is what she calls storytelling, the ability to construct a coherent account of your own life, including the painful and confusing parts that makes the whole thing feel like something rather than nothing. Like it adds up to a direction, even when it hasn't been clean. The fourth is transcendence, moments when your sense of individual self becomes less important than something larger. This doesn't require religion, it can happen in the middle of nature, during meaningful work, in genuine connection, in moments of awe, but it requires something outside the self to orient toward. Notice what's not on this list. Comfort, achievement, pleasure, security. These things matter, but they don't substitute for the 4 things that actually produce meaning, and in a culture that optimizes relentlessly for comfort and achievement and entertainment, the 4 things that matter most are often the first to be crowded out. Frankl put it simply: meaning cannot be given. It can only be found, and it is found not by looking inward at how you feel, but by reaching outward towards something that matters enough to organize your life around. This is why staying busy doesn't fix the feeling. Busyness is motion. Meaning requires direction. And this is why the feeling returns even when everything is fine. Because fine is not the same as directed. And your sense of self knows the difference even when you can't articulate it. So here's what I want to leave you with. The feeling you've been carrying, the one that doesn't match your circumstances, the one you can't quite justify, is not weakness. It's not ingratitude. It's not a sign that something is wrong with you. It's a signal, pointing toward the question you may have been too busy to sit with. Not what do I have, but what is it all for? If you stripped away everything you do to stay busy, everything you consume to stay distracted, and you sat with the silence long enough to hear what it's actually asking, what would you find? Write it below. Not the polished version, the honest one, because that's usually where the direction forward actually begins.